My organization is Starseed Awakening. My organization started actually about 1992 when I first started my support groups here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I facilitated support groups then for men, women, and children. I did, in fact, start the first children and teenagers groups for the experiencers. These are the children of the experiencers themselves. And so with these groups, I would have the parents and the teens, or the parents and the children, come and attend the groups. That way it was a safe environment. Also, it was some of the times the very first time these teenagers ever got to talk about their experience in front of their parents, as well as it was the very first time that the children got to talk about their experiences in front of their parents. So it's a very important thing to have these groups. That is why I have continued on with that. I now have 2 groups here in Las Vegas that I have here at my home. And I have one for experiencers. It is kind of a mixed group. Sometimes we will have young children come into a group by themselves, or teenagers, but mostly it's a co-ed group. I also have a second group. Now that group is the first Thursday of every month, and then the third Thursday of every month I have the Starseed Awakening working group. And you know, we are all psychic beings. We're all spiritual beings living a human life here. And so we do have these abilities that, you know, we foresee as the, you know, the masters have, but we do have them. We just have forgotten. And so what we are doing in these workshops and classes are assisting each other. I'm not, you know, any better than anybody else, but we're assisting each other in learning how and to wake up those abilities. So those abilities can be everything from remote viewing, automatic writing, channeling, psychometry, telekinesis, aura reading, healing, galactic light language channeling, everything. We work on all of these things. So that is what I'm doing there. And then also, I have something very near and dear to my heart. It is Thrive at My Education here in Nevada. Now, what I found out in my many, many years of being a facilitator for experiencer groups is that this is a common denominator within experiencers, that they would have ADD, ADHD, ODD, dyslexia, Asperger's, autism, speech impediments, and other things that the school system calls learning disabilities. Well, it makes it very, very hard for children to learn in the environment of the one-size-fits-all school. So what we are providing is a school that will allow these children to learn in their own methods, in their own way. Some of them excel in maths and are savants. Some of them excel in science, you know. So we allow them to learn at their own pace. So this school will have counselors, instructor type people, and teachers, so that because the kids learn differently. They learn differently than the norm children, I guess we could say, and they need a different type of school. So this will be a semi-private school. We're working on the funding. We have the paperwork in for the nonprofit, and we are asking anyone, if they're a school teacher, if they think outside of the box, they're the type of person that can think out of the box. Maybe a teacher who's just couldn't stand the system anymore and quit. Well, we're looking for those types of people. We're also looking for people who want to be involved, you know, it does require money to have these things. So we're also asking for donations. So if you're interested, right now my starseedawakening.org site is down because I'm transferring hosting, and we ran into a little glitch, but it should be back up in the next few days. But you can reach me on Starseed Awakening, excuse me, Facebook. That's Starseed Awakening and Contact the Experiencer Facebook. I also have Starseed Awakening Facebook, and I also have MK Ultra, Mind Control, My Lab, Ritual Abuse, Super Soldier. It's kind of got all those names in there. But if you just put MK Ultra, My Lab, mine will come up. And you can also join that group. And from that group, I have the internet groups, which are on Google Hangout. And I facilitate these twice a week, sometimes 3 if there's a special need for it. And these are on Google Hangout. It is by invitation, and if you're interested in that, once you've joined my different sites, you'll see the events, and click on the events and join the events, and then I will send you a link. Now I have the ET contact, experience, abduction, all of it. That support group is on Sunday from 11 to 2 o'clock. And then from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Thursday, I have the MK Ultra group. And that is a joint European and American group. And I invite everyone to come. There's translator available for German. So if you're German, please do join us. And I know there's a lot of things going on over in Germany with the mind control and such, which we're going to find out a lot more about today. So again, you can also reach me by Miesha99 at yahoo.com. And now I'd like to introduce my first guest, is Andrea Sadegh. She's going to pronounce that correctly for us. She is a social worker, an activist in Austria for trauma-based mind control. These things are being done to many children there, and she'll give you the numbers. It's just astounding what has been going on. She will be talking about her own experience because she has been directly affected by this and has her own experience that she'll be sharing with you of what is going on with her and the terrible things. And most recently, she had an attack that she may share with you. I don't know about that, but she's had all kinds of things done to her. Andrea will be speaking at the SMART conference. That is a conference here in America. I believe it is America, and she can tell you exactly where. Ritual abuse and extreme abuse clinicians conference in 2015 in the United States. The trauma-based mind control and ritual abuse in Austria was basically started by Mengele, and it's a Mengele tradition. And it's very interesting that in America, more of the psych type of experiences are happening. The targeting individual with the remote psychometry or remote attacks and things like that are happening here, where in Austria and I believe also Germany, but we'll find out for sure about Germany, it is happening so much more on a physical basis, which is what it used to do back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But now it's more through the ELF waves and things like that they're attacking people, and they basically can control them and things like that, but it's physically happening over there. So I will just say a little bit also about Arndt. He is working and helping with the common law and getting that going, and in Germany. He also represents the organization ITCCS, which consists of many of the things that are going on, such as trauma-based, ritual abuse, and all of that. So he will be talking about that. And so we'll be first going with Andrea, and I want to thank you, Andrea. I know it's a bit later for you folks, and I do appreciate you staying up. And thank you so much for coming, Andrea, and pronounce your name for us correctly.
Thank you for the invitation. And it's Andrea Sadegh, is the pronunciation.
Okay, got it. Okay, Andrea, so Thanks for coming. And would you just first, you could start out by sharing your organization, and then you can tell us a little bit about, then a little bit about your organization, and then you can get into why you did this and what brought you to this in your own life.
Okay. I founded the network Trauma-Based Mind Control. It's a network for the German-speaking countries, meaning Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I came into this topic over my small son. He's 6 years now, and he has had to suffer trauma-based mind control and also ritual abuse here in Austria. And he began to show me all these things via flashbacks, or when he went into his programmed altars when he was 2.5 years old, and I didn't have any clue what was done to him. And what I did, I wrote down every single line he told me, exactly describing his behavior, his words, his flashbacks, his tears, his heartbreaking tears, and sent it to Austrian courts, begging for help, begging for examinations, and he never received examinations in detail. And they separated us because they claimed that I would influence him and manipulate him to say such things. And they closed all files at the Austrian courts. And later on, I found out that something like trauma-based mind control would exist, or ritual abuse. I didn't know, because here in Austria, you hardly can believe, but it's totally unknown. And at least in 2011, and then I started to do research and research, and then I found out a lot about it, mostly over American scientists, because the Austrians are not writing about it, not even talking about it. And then I was really interested in the topic, even as a scientist. I myself have studied comparative literature, and then also do have an education as a social worker. And then I got really interested why no one talks about it, why no one is allowed to talk about it. And then I started the research going on in the concentration camps with Dr. Mengele. The cruelties he did on mainly Jewish children and children out of gypsy families. Then I found out that he had 300 colleagues doing this kind of research. Next step, I found out that they had a kind of research center in my home city. The city of Graz is in the south of Austria. And it was called in the Nazi times the SS Ärztliche Akademie, meaning the elite academy for physicians and psychiatrists. And then I found out that they never stopped to do this kind of bestial research, or it's kind of bestial crime to children and toddlers. And then I got really in trouble because the Austrians got crazy, because I always reported every single line to court and and told them this is happening, that is happening. And so far a bit of research, and in the meantime we know that that even Sigmund Freud, the famous psychologist, did research on that, was very interested in that kind of research. So we have over 100 years of tradition of this kind of programming. And no one is talking about it, and there are a lot of I met a lot of adults who who are programmed as children, and who do not even realize that they are programmed.
And so you've met other parents, of course, that are having this same kinds of trouble.
Pardon?
You've met other parents, of course, that are having these same things happening to children.
Thank you, of course, yes. And also in the meantime, I found out that there are many other parents are concerned of this crime, and here in Austria also it came out 1 year ago that the government paid them money to keep them silent, what was done on their children and toddlers, and they even met other mothers whose children also had to suffer trauma-based mind control and ritual abuse, and they are at the same age of my son. So obviously they did it within the last few years or even months on an industrial scale here.
I wanted to just say one thing. I can't imagine how much money it would take to have me turn a blind eye about what is happening to my child. It's just, how can a parent do that? I can't imagine how can a parent do that.
I think they are threatened. Most of them are threatened I was told, if you say something, if you ask for examinations for your son will be away.
Oh, you'll never see your son again, kind of thing.
You will never see your son again. You will be sent into a psychiatric asylum. You will be sent to prison. You will be killed.
Well, that's a big difference. Yes.
You are really threatened here. But I thought it doesn't make sense to be silent, because I cannot help my son if I don't know what has happened to him. Mm-hmm. Because in those days I did not know what happened to him, so I just knew I need to get to know the truth to be able to heal him or help him with healing. And as you know, I made the right decision unconsciously, I think, because when you are not trying to get him out of his programming, the perpetrators later on in his life can just fetch him when he is 17 years old, 21, whenever they want.
Exactly. Yes. So they have a programming in them so that anytime they want to, they can just access them. And once they get that foundation of the childhood programming that they start so young with, they start splitting them and their alters and such, they will definitely do that. Yeah.
And what they also do, even my son was with me, and the case was at the prosecution office. They are doing vulgaries. They are really trying to frighten you. They are manipulating your car. So they really show that they are here. They show that you have no chance, no rights. So they have really enormous resources to commit such crimes and to frighten the parents also. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, I don't know. I just knew, no, that doesn't make sense, because I won't accept to hand my son over for getting raped again, for suffering ritual abuse. In those days, I just knew about rapes and about baby prostitution. Showed me being a baby prostitute also.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. sitar music. Yeah, that's better. You're invited to Sacred Cow Barbecue. I'm your host, Patricia Aiken. My guest will free your mind from mainstream manure. No subject is off limits. Don't believe everything you think. It's BS. Just our collective belief system programmed into us. Question everything. Come hungry for truth because that's what we're serving. Sacred Cow Barbecue, Tuesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern in Studio B.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed, people working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Oh, Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Join us on Monday nights for Odyssey at 10 p.m. Eastern Time in Studio B with your host, Michael David. We discuss all types of ancient and modern mysteries, from the Anunnaki to legends and mythology. We often have live guests such as well-known authors and experts on many esoteric topics. Join the intrigue and mystery every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time in Studio B.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Secret Society Revealed, with your host, Joseph Atwell, author of Caesar's Messiah, The Roman Conspiracy to Invent Jesus, and Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, the groundbreaking discoveries that gives us a new understanding of how governments and elites use mind control to manipulate their subjects. Join Mr. Atwell as he lifts the veils of deceptions of our modern world, Mondays, 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Revolution Radio.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And we are back. Starseed Awakening Show is presenting once again my very, very amazing guests that are going through so much in Austria and Germany, and we're learning a lot about what goes on in other countries. I think it's very interesting. Andrea Sadegh and Arndt are my guests today, and we were just talking with Andrea. So please do go on, Andrea.
Well, maybe I should begin with the start. After approximately half a year visits at his daddy's house, my son came home and told me that I would harm him, and I would not be his mommy, and I would be evil, and so on. And I was very shocked, and then asking him,
can I just ask you one thing here? Sorry to interrupt you, just to make sure everybody understands, since we are, speaking two different languages here. Well, no, you're speaking wonderful English, but you, after the divorce, and it was just like a half a year after the divorce, after he'd been over to his father's house, this is what he came back acting very strange. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please go.
Exactly. And it wasn't immediately after the divorce, because before I joined them, because he was such a small baby, so I joined both of them, so they really can relax and have me with them to build up a good relationship, because I wish this from my heart.
Uh-huh.
And then before he became 2 years old, I said, no, it's time that they can start to be without me. And then after half a year, he came home and told and started to tell me these things, and I would not be his mommy, and I would harm him, and so on. Mm-hmm. And then I asked him, my dear, where did I do harm on you? And he was completely convinced at daddy's home. Mm-hmm. So it started, and I was worrying a lot, and I even tried to talk with his father about it. And then we had a break in the visits, and all of a sudden, the whole trauma came out of the small one, and in pieces, piece for piece for piece, mostly within flashbacks, he told me the most incredible stories. Actually, no one wants to know that this can be done on toddlers.
Uh-huh.
And it was
done by his father or others?
By his father, done from his father, but also from others.
Okay.
So he was lying on the floor crying, and whenever he remembered the situation, meaning he had flashbacks,
mm-hmm.
and it was and it came out that they put him into cages. He had to suffer waterboarding.
Waterboarding?
Waterboarding, yes.
Oh my God, to a child, yes.
Yeah. He was sexually abused. They also.
I'm curious. Can you explain how a toddler explains waterboarding to you?
It's very easy. You a child that loves to be in the bathtub,
uh-huh.
All of a sudden gets panic attacks when it's time for having a bath,
uh-huh.
or when you want to go to a swimming pool with the child,
uh-huh.
and all of a sudden he's getting crazy. That's a sign that, and another sign is he quite often woke up and cried and shouted and cried, water, 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 water. And there are different kinds of crying with children,
Mm-hmm.
Normal crying, and this horrible crying, where you were really shocked there has happened something, like something terrible, and it was this horrible kind of crying, where you have goose coat all over your body because you think, oh my God, what happened?
Right.
And he awoke quite often, and were shouting water, 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 and sometimes talking about dreams. That was my most horrific experience, actually. Once he was within his sleep, when sleeping, he was crying for help for me. He was crying, "Mommy, mommy, help me."
Oh.
And it was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking.
You know, I want to just say something here. I've had some memories come out about my own trauma-based mind control here. And I remember what was some water situation as well. I remember being in cage, and I also remember being in dark areas. Whether I was in the cage or a box, I'm not positively sure. But every time I'd ask for help or food or something, they'd throw water in on me. A lot. So I believe that's the kind of thing, you know, they have different methods, but they use water. That was way back when I was a child, so I can imagine what they're doing to children now. Please go on.
Yeah. Or another example, we were looking for a children movie on YouTube, and there at the homepage from YouTube, there was a picture from Ku Klux Klan masks.
Ku Klux Klan, okay.
Ku Klux Klan members, yes. All of a sudden, he got crazy seeing this Ku Klux Klan masks, and I was very astonished because he was so small. He never watched a movie like that because he wouldn't allow. And
so it was probably the whole thing about the outfits with the capes and covered heads and things like that brought back some flashes to him.
Exactly, and then later on he told me that they were in groups and did a lot of they hurt him a lot, and they also abused him.
The groups did.
The groups did, yes.
Oh yes.
They laughed, they ridiculed him, crying for me for help. They beated him, they raped him, they even, sorry for these details.
Say that again?
Sorry for all these details, I hope it's okay to tell it.
Oh, that's fine. No, you know, our listeners need to know that, you know, because this is not only going on there, it's going on here as well, but in different ways.
So he had to eat. He vomited and he had to eat it.
Oh.
He had to eat faces.
Yeah.
And also.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah, and then they laughed at him and ridiculed him. So they did incredible things. He also told me, but this was also confirmed by whistleblowers. They did rituals with him.
They what?
They did rituals with him.
Oh, rituals?
Rituals, where he had to overtake the bad karma of the perpetrator.
Oh yes, that's an interesting thing. I've heard that before, that he had to take over his karma. Yes.
Yeah, and after that, they did spinning on him, meaning they were pulling him on a wheel, and really totally fragmented this personality order that had overtaken the guild.
Okay, I'm not quite understood that. Would you like to repeat that?
Okay.
On the wheel?
Meaning he had to bear the burden of the perpetrator's guilt, and after that they boldly fragmented his personality order via spinning.
Oh, by the spinning.
Yeah, spinning.
Oh, very interesting. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And this was also confirmed by whistleblowers who were present. And
they were present at the time he was being tortured?
Yeah, they were present, and they told me, but they never went to court or to police or did something. They just confirmed it, yes, this happened.
Well, that's pretty darn horrible, you know, that you have, and also it's very, very, I mean, you've got so much evidence here that you even have whistleblowers. Of course, will they come out, you know, for fear of their own life? You never know, but it's good that you have that. At least you understand and know. It's just terrible for you. I can't imagine how much pain you must be going through.
It was really incredible, and he was even trained to be a baby prostitute for men and for women.
How old was he at this time?
Pardon?
How old was he at this time?
2.5 years old.
2.5 years old. Okay.
And he was like it was really a program. He showed me how to serve women.
Oh, good gosh.
It was incredible, and he was actually within this program. He was even quite proud of himself that he is doing a good job.
Okay, so let me understand this. So his program clicks in, and he tells you how to serve a woman, and he's proud of himself because he knows the method of how to do it. Is that right?
Yeah.
What did he show you on a doll or something?
No. He wanted. This situation was really strange, and they also reported it in detail to court. With all the other.
He said this in court?
No. I reported it to court because it was horrible.
And what did court do about it? What did the court do about it?
Oh, nothing. They never did anything. They refused to have him examined in detail, and as long as the court was at the prosecution office, they did nothing to protect the perpetrator.
And I know you hired a lawyer, and your lawyer has really done nothing either.
In those days, I didn't have a lawyer, because for me, it was maybe I was naive or silly, I don't know. But for me, it was I just wanted to have the examination.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought the things would get normal as far as.
Of course, you think if you bring it to the eyes of the court that there's to protect the children, but they aren't.
And I was told from everyone that this would be the usual procedure in Austria.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone told me, wait for the examination, but I never did it.
No examination of the child, because if they did done a physical, a doctor had done an examination, they would have seen the things that happened to that child.
Actually, yes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I do know these things now, because now I know, and they told me, now you could not see, and then later on they said, no, now you cannot see anything. What was a completely lie, because of course you can. You can see the scars via black light, you can have a computer tomography of the child, you can check everything, and a psychiatrist will find out what happened to the child. Mm-hmm. So no one was interested in it, and most important, in Austria this crime officially is not known, even by experts.
Oh, really? It's not even by experts. What, they just close their eyes and say it doesn't exist?
Yeah, it doesn't exist, and even ritual abuse is not known, and in Germany, ritual abuse is known, but in Austria they pretend as if it would be completely unnormal to talk about it. And later on, he got a superficial examination. And the therapist, when I told her these things, I handed over my writings to court. She said, "Oh, that's very pathological to talk about it."
You're pathological? In other words, she's calling you a liar.
Yeah. And then they decided that it's easier to say, well, the mother is insane, instead of having the child examined. And like in every country where it's known, when you are in such a situation, of course you get the physicians, you get the therapists, you get the workers out of the youth welfare department that are covering up such crimes, because it's the things that happens are not normal.
No, they are not normal at all. So it's interesting that here, very near, like for instance in your area, that you had that special organization that was for this whole thing with Mengele and all that, and here in the birthplace basically of this area, of this whole atrocity, it doesn't exist in the court's eyes.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. It's incredible, because who should believe the story? And also here in Austria, they're not talking about it, they're not publishing books about it. They all are silent, and it's quite shaming, because most of the things I learned about it, about trauma-based mind control, ritual abuse, I learned from Americans.
Oh, so there's not too much information. In fact, I think after looking at your website and a couple other websites, you just don't find much over in Europe about the trauma-based mind control.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, I know this started you on a path. So, what did you, when you got to a point where all the doors were closed in the court system, all the doors were closed with your doctors or social worker or anything like that, you being a social worker yourself, did you try some contacts that way or anything like that? Or what was your next step? What did you do then? Is that when you started, this activist project to try to get people awake and learn about that?
They separated us, claiming that I would do a lot of damage to this child. So the youth welfare department just fetched him, and then I just did research. I even started to work as a social worker again, and I was always I had so much hope that he would be allowed to go on living with me, and shortly before the case was closed at court, I found out about trauma-based mind control, and then I told the family judge about it in written, provided everyone with literature, with scientific literature about it. They did not even ignore it. And
he did not even acknowledge it? He didn't?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the next step was that the more I found out about this scientific literature and all the connections from Mengele and even Sigmund Freud and all these researchers doing these bestial crimes, the more pressure I got, and they just ignored everything. Then I contacted English researchers, and they already confirmed that my son has had to suffer trauma-based mind control and ritual abuse. And the Austrian system just said they just had nothing. They just ignored it. and they kept, they were saying all the time, she's insane, she's insane, she's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main problem was that he recognized perpetrators.
Oh, of course, yes.
And this was the problem, I suppose.
And now, how old is he now?
He's now 6 years old.
So this has been going on since for 6 years, basically, because he was only just a baby when it started.
Yeah, for 4 years at least. Yeah,
4 years. So 2 years is when it really started. Yeah, 2 to 3 years is when they start the trauma-based mind control. Mine was started in that age group, and they actually even started earlier. They do little things. The handler, more than likely his father, would have done things to just start the programming going. So we're about to go into another break here real soon. So I just wanted you to tell them about how often you get to see your child now.
Well, officially I'm allowed to see him every 2 months for 2 hours under supervision, meaning there are two persons present from the social branch, but in the meantime I'm seeing him every 5 months for 2 hours.
Horrible.
Yeah, and when I see
but
him,
officially he's still your child. Nobody's been able to actually take him away from you. They just are keeping him away from you.
He's living in a foster family officially,
mm-hmm.
but the last 4 years, what he told me, he's spending weekends at the perpetrators' houses. He's meeting the perpetrators, and partly I had the feeling, I also have it on audio tape, because I always make audio tapes when I'm with him.
Uh-huh.
He partly did not even know where his home is.
He doesn't know where his home is.
So they're
shuffled around so much.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And partly it seems as if he gets a military training. And what I also, what I was able to make pictures of him, and there you can see the personality split.
Oh, I can attest to that. You showed me some videos. You also showed me some pictures. And you can see it in his eyes. It's just, it's just heartbreaking for me, not even as the mother. And my heart goes out to you so much, dear. And, I know now that you have moved on and are doing some amazing things. You're speaking out more about it. You're working with other activist groups such as the ITCCS, and tell us the other groups you're working at, and we might run out of time, and then we'll come right back and tell that, and then wrap up with you, and then start with Arndt. And okay.
So I founded the network Trauma-Based Mind Control together to raise awareness within the German-speaking countries about this crime, and now we are getting bigger, or it's getting bigger and bigger. We are having these joint groups on Google Hangouts. They are also growing.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific wartime this morning.
We are far stronger than we were 10 weeks ago.
Zero quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
You're nervous about your toes. I'll do the mastermind around here.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top.
Bam, check it out every Tuesday and Saturday on Revolution Radio. It's a double dose of the internationally recognized renegade military historian Douglas Dietrich.
You'll stay right where you are till I tell you to move out.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesdays from 10 to midnight Eastern Time. Join Douglas Dietrich as he exposes the truth in hidden history on his show Critical Omissions. And then our human weapon of mass destruction is back once again to take your calls on Saturday night firing lines. Both from 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country was founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Oh, Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi, and we are back. This has been a very interesting show. It's just amazing what is going on in Europe. I just want to make a couple of short announcements. You can find my group, Starseed Awakening, on a meetup site. It's Starseed Awakening Psychic Awareness. That's for the local people here in Las Vegas. You can join those, so you can come to the first Thursday of the month and the second Thursday of the month, our experiencer groups. And then, of course, the third one is for psychic development, as well as on Starseed Awakening Facebook. You can go to Starseed Awakening ET Contact Experience, or you can go to Starseed Awakening, or you can also go to MK Ultra My Lab, Target Individual Ritual Abuse. And so those are my three sites that you can come and join. And from there, you'd find the events. And once you join an event for the support groups, you can go to the Google Hangout, which I would send you a link to once you've joined that. So that's the ways you can come to these support groups. The group that is on Thursday, which is my joint European American group, has a wonderful translator who is Andrea Sadegh, who is our guest today. And she translates for all the German-speaking people who cannot speak English, and helps us understand what they're saying. So it's wonderful. We get to learn what's going on with both two separate parts of the world. So it's very amazing. And so I love the work that she's doing there, and very helpful. So we're just going to get back to her. And I first want to tell everyone, remember, Revolution Radio is listener supported, so please donate. So Andrea, before we go in and speak with Arndt about his part in all of this, would you just tell us what you're doing right now to further your cause and all?
At the moment, I tried to find other mothers. We are organizing a kind of new network, because here within the German-speaking countries, but also in England, in France, in Italy, everywhere in Europe, the state is stealing children.
Yeah.
And we want to unite and to go to court in Den Haag, to the International Court and to the International Prosecution Court, to make us visible, and to make visible how many children has had to suffer trauma-based mind control, ritual abuse, or were just divided from their parents without any reason, actually. And this is the project I'm working now on. And besides this, I'm doing a lot of social work. I'm contacted from a lot of German-speaking country, a lot of people within the German-speaking countries, and I try to explain them the system or just to have an exchange. And these are actually my projects, and most important, of course, is my personal case, meaning that I want to go again to the prosecution office and
prosecution. Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely, and again try to get this Sadegh case into court to get all these things examined.
Yes. You know, you could use assistance yourself with what's going on. You know, I'm sure you have a donation button there on your website. Which would you please tell us what your website is once more?
The website is easy to remember. It's traumabasedmindcontrol.com.
Okay. And is there any other way that they can get a hold of you?
Yes, and I'm to be found on Facebook under my name, Andrea Sadegh.
Good. And so, spell your name for us. Andrea, you don't need to. It's spelled the same. But your last name?
Sadegh, it's like Sierra, Alpha, Delta, Echo, Golf, Hotel.
Okay.
So
wonderful. And thank you so much. And, you know, we might have you just pop in here and maybe ask questions of Arndt or add into it. So, as I mentioned earlier, is working on his own projects and such in the realm of common law in Germany. So he's helping to build up common law in Germany. He represents an organization, ITCCS, which is some of the more important things that they do cover is the trauma-based mind control. And so, welcome, Arndt. Thanks for coming to group. Are you there?
Oh, I just saw my mic was not turned on.
I know. I did the same thing. You talk away and didn't realize the muting on.
So you can hear me now?
Perfectly.
Oh, nice. All right. So that organization is called ITCCS. It's 2C.
Oh,
you're right. It stands for International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State. That is what ITCCS stands for. And you can check everything about that organization on the website too, itccs.org. And yeah, so maybe I should start with this topic.
Unless you want to tell us, you know, why you got into it yourself.
Okay, that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago when I started to research about that more dark topics on this planet. And after a while I found that organization, and what was special about it, it was not just researching theories or stuff like that, it was a real experience story that brought everything into its way. It's all based upon facts, experience, real life things, and that made it special. That made it really special. So I followed it for a while. I connected to the organization, and I became like some sort of German representative for it. And I did a speaking tour about it last year in September in about 10 or 12 big German cities to just spread the information and what is going on.
Oh, that's good. And so tell us more about the organization. And
right.
I mean, this is just something kind of like, I guess, your mission that you're supposed to have on this lifetime. So we all seem to carry a mission. We all seem to, you know, it's part of being a good human, I'd say. So please do share what you've been doing.
Okay, so ITCCS, how everything came into being, it started 1992, with somebody called Kevin Arndt. He's the main initiator of this organization, and he became a pastor at that time in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So the story starts in Canada.
Okay.
And he moved to a new village, to a new town, where he was supposed to start with his profession, being a pastor. So when he arrived there and everything started, he realized very fast that something was not okay in this town. It was a completely apartheid system there. When he did his church services, no one of the Indians came, like the Aborigine people. Never. In no church service. And not just there, also in the public life, like the stores, the store owners, you wouldn't see the Indians. So he asked himself, where are they? And he started to contact them. He went with them. And he started to talk with them. And they too started to trust him and talk to him back. And then what he found out was, let me say, it was changing his life completely from that time on. It was about children, indigenous children, they just disappeared. And what he heard is they would be killed, they would be abused, tortured. And not just single cases, on a very big scale it happened there. And it happened for maybe about 150 years.
Oh my.
When the Crown agencies and also the Catholic agencies and the church first started to build Indian schools in 1832. They started to build schools there for the Indian children, where they had to go starting age 5. And the last school closed 1996. And we are talking about a time frame of 150 years where all this happened. And we are talking about an estimated figure of 50,000 children found their death in a very vicious system. So.
And this was.
Yeah,
what area exactly was this in?
It's the whole Canada, mostly the west coast, but still the whole Canada.
Okay. Well, so these are the throwaway. They didn't, they could just use these children. We've had similar Native American situations where they have basically, feel that they can do whatever they want with them. And so.
Whatever they want.
Yeah.
Right.
So sad, but it's children. My goodness gracious.
Yeah. I can tell a little about how it happened. So they put the children, there's maybe the 50s or 60s now. They put the children on gunboats by the age of 5. That was executed by the Royal Mounted Police Force of Canada.
From the Royal Mounted?
Yeah, the RCMP.
Executed them?
No, they executed the plan to put these children on the boats and deport them into the schools.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Mm-hmm.
Right, so the Royal Police did that, and from that day on, the children won't see their family again, because they are now in the school, and they would stay there, live there, and experience everything the nuns and the priests had for them, beside the normal school life. And I can recommend the movie Unrepentant. This movie was made by Kevin Arndt, the pastor.
What was the name of it again?
Unrepentant.
Unrepentant?
Unrepentant.
Okay, you can write that in for me so I can write that into the chat room.
I will. Unrepentant. And you will figure that after the children arrive there, they will start get beaten, tortured, punished for every little thing. They are not allowed to speak their local language again, like the indigenous language. They had to obey and get beaten and tortured, and all these things happened. But it's not just that. Kevin Arndt and all people who were working with them, after a while they found out it's not just that, it is a whole genocide that happened there. A whole genocide.
Oh my.
The story of forced sterilization of women, And then bacterial warfare, they used tuberculosis and smallpox to just eliminate people on a large scale. The indigenous people, of course. And yeah, it goes on like that. And after investigations, after years, after talking to the indigenous people, Kevin Arndt and them, they found everything out what happened in this country. Yeah, not long ago. So when he was talking to the public about it, Kevin, there was a lot of opposition from the public side, the authorities, and the church, of course.
Oh, the church, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, the church wouldn't do anything like that. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The church is behind all of this. The whole genocide, the whole conquering the country, it's like, it's the church behind it. The cardinals and, yeah, the United Church of Canada, and then again the Vatican is behind it. The whole genocide system. Yeah. So they destroyed his life. They went to his wife and they told her, you can stick to this man, he's crazy, he's insane. They fired him, they sacked him from church, and from there he went a different path. He tried to make everything public, and he put his life to this mission. And he hooked up with survivors, Indian survivors from this school, from the genocide, and they founded an organization for survivors, and that is the ITCCS. And this organization is not just a platform for people to talk and open up and release all their pain, it's also an organization to do something now. It's a very broad political and spiritual movement to face this situation and to put these people, these institutions to responsibility who could never be touched by the law, because these people are behind the law, or maybe they are the law. Like the Vatican is beyond the law, and the Queen too, and all these royal families, dynasties, and banking families behind the law. And so ITCCS is an idea how to really go inside these sections. This is why it was founded. And only 1 year later, after this foundation, the same people also founded the International Common Law Court of Justice, which is a court system, it's a right, a judicial system that is much more ancient as we might think nowadays. It's more ancient than the Roman civil law that all the modern laws are also based upon. So common law is the ancient system that we want to reintroduce into society for sovereign people and free people who have their own voice and must not give their voice away to political institutions who talk for you, not even in your own will. So this is the idea of common law. Yeah, and as the story of ITCCS goes on, they found out it's not just a genocide and a killing, there is even more dark logics behind it, who do these killings in a very ritualistic way and in a very sacrificial way.
Oh.
So after investigations and research and years passed by, they found these things out too. And witnesses start to see that ITCCS.org movement, and they contacted and they spoke out what they themselves experienced. So the network grew inside from inside the Vatican. The Vatican came, insiders from political areas came. So the network grew, and what we found out, it's shocking. It goes very deep, and it is all this sacrificial stuff. I can tell a little bit about that too. For example, there came a witness from the Netherlands. Her name is Toos. She was herself a victim and witness of these crimes, and she and her husband in the meantime created their own common law court in the Netherlands. And she experienced that ritual killing and sacrificial stuff going on in Netherlands and France, even by the former Pope Ratzinger, who himself is he must sacrifice so many children. What we know, he must have been very, very deep into that, and even already at times of the Third Reich, his kind of sacrificial cults were also involved with the Nazis, and they had themselves a sacrificial cult called the Black. What was the name? I forgot it. It will come back in a second. Mm-hmm. So it's a very old cult, and most of the traces found that this cult was found in the Vatican about 300 years ago, 1776, by the name of the Ninth Circle. The Ninth Circle.
The Mind Circle?
The ninth, like the number 9.
Oh, number 9 circle. Oh.
Yeah, Ninth Circle.
Uh-huh.
So, and this Ninth Circle people, or these are mostly priests.
Uh-huh.
People from the religious section, from the Catholic section, and mostly from the Jesuits section. And they consider themselves as carrier of what they call a magisterial privilege. This is also something we found out from Vatican archives. The magisterial privilege is what they think they have. They can play God. They can play God.
Okay.
This is what they think they are. They can decide over life and death and enjoy everything they want without any conscience. Yeah. So we also found out sacrificial ceremonies happen in cathedrals all over the world, like in Montreal, in all the big cities all over the world where the big cathedrals are. You can see it as like there are church ceremonies on the surface, and in the underground there are again ceremonies which are much more occult and dark.
Yes.
And also they use altars.
Yes.
But on this altar you will find a little child by the age of 5 maybe, but maybe younger too. And it will be tied on that altar, and around that altar you will have 9 figures in red robes. Yes. And they will have a ceremonial knife. But first they start raping this child in a sequence, and then with that knife that child will be dismembered and then disemboweled. They will take the bowels out of the child and cut everything into pieces and even eat it and drink that blood. So that kind of stuff is what this is not Ninth Circle is about.
And they did your eyewitnesses mention that they also make other children stand and watch this stuff? They
yes.
do though. They do.
Yes. I can't say for sure. I can say for sure if other children watch, but by any means other people are there. Other people are there. Some of them victims themselves.
Right.
And some others are just visitors who enjoy the spectacle, who enjoy very high-ranked politicians and royal family people enjoy this kind of events.
Yes.
It's very appreciated for them, and they pay for it.
That's exactly right. We're about to go into break here, but I did want to mention from my own experience, I also have witnessed this exact thing you're talking about. When, I was like, oh my God, it was like a flash there for me as well. It's just horrible. If you're lucky enough not to be the ones that they sacrifice, they do make you watch, and there has been children who've been had to take the first plunge of the knife because that solidifies their programming. It strengthens their programming.
Right, and somebody might help that children to move his hands with the knife in the hand to really
get the right place. Yes.
Yeah, they really involve the child in that kind of doings. Yeah.
That splits the personality more. That splits the alter, like you can't imagine. It certainly does. I understand it completely, and this is just very interesting to find out that this organization is going to these strengths to do something about it. It is a huge battle because look at who you're battling. The Pope and the whole church and stuff. It's a huge undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
But I commend you for doing it. Now I'm not sure. It should be going into break. If it doesn't, then we don't have a break.
All right.
So keep talking until just please go on. I think it's important that people hear what really does happen, and so that they get involved themselves to realize, you know what, this is going on, and this is happening to thousands of children. Like, I don't know, I can't even remember the number, but it's like 50,000 children a year go missing. Where did they go missing to? What? Yes, this kind of thing. So please do go on.
Okay. Maybe a little bit more about this ITCCS, about this sacrificial kind of things.
Okay.
There's another eyewitness that came later. She's also from Belgium, and she's reporting on other cases in the Belgium and Netherlands, where also dead cult members met. Again, royal people, like the British family, the Mountbatten family, Prince Philip and King Albert, Mark Rutte, that billionaire George Soros, and also a lot of names came together. In all these years of researching, and a lot of names too. And in that case, that was event that took place in Belgium, in Outergem, and there's a wood, and these people met there. And it was what is called a human hunting party. Oh. So children, they brought children there. The mafia actually is a deliverer for them. In Netherlands, in Belgium, that mafia's name is known by the name of Octopus. It's actually an arm of the Italian Ndrangheta, and they deliver children. So. They let the children run away in that woods, and then they hunt them. And after a while, they will have them again. They might shoot them down or, bring them down to the floor, and then the children are naked, by the way, and then they will just cut off the penis of the young boy and hold it high into the air like a trophy, and they are jubiling. They are like a victory. They hold it like a trophy, and this is what they also do in another type of scenario. Again, it's sacrificial, and it gives them inner power. This is what they might feel. They might feel empowered to that. It's why they do it. So all these things we found out happen behind the scenes, and the church is the main, let me say, the worldwide main satanic center for bad networks. So this is what the ITCCS started to find out. So, and what they then did is to also establish that international common law court of justice to really do something against it. And they started to really bring court files and court cases into being. And they had accredited lawyers from the beginning who know the history of law and the history of church law, civilian law, and canon law. But on the other side, common law, what is prior to it. Because common law derived out of natural law, which is our God-given law, it's divine law, it's our birthrights, and it's how tribes and people lived for hundreds and thousands of years. self-governing. Not harming another person is the highest priority. And that is what common law is about. Not harming another person, but you are self-governing and you can live your free will. And you can decide your own rules in your own community, in your own tribe. But then the big empires came, the church and the crown and all that, and they placed their laws upon all the free people to make them slave to their law. And that is, let me say, the opposite of common law. So what we have to do is bring the common law back and show people how to get sovereign again and what is not common law, because everything else is not common law. It's forced, it's enforced, it is put upon you. So they made this common law court, this International Common Law Court of Justice, made these court cases, and they successfully convicted Joseph Ratzinger, the former Pope, but also the current Pope, George Bergoglio, Elizabeth Windsor, that Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, the Jesuits general, the head of the Jesuits, Adolfo Nicolas Pachon, and many, many, many more cardinals, higher-up officials, politicians, and royal people. So this is what they did. And maybe at this stage, I will make a little jump to Germany.
Okay.
And how we try to establish common law, because we are not on that level where the Canadians, the International Common Law Courts, is right now, because that movement has very much speed and they are far. Now we want to establish common law in Germany too. And we cannot just start penetrating these deep layers and these powerful politician structures. We don't have that backup yet.
Yes.
So we have to start small. So what we are trying to do to cultivate common law here is to first teach people what is a free, sovereign human being and what it is not. Because a person, really that term person that is used, is just a juridical term and is a mere fiction. It's not to be mixed up with the term human being. Because human being and person is two different things. A human being is somebody, let me say somebody in flesh and blood and with a soul. So it's a soul in a human being is maybe that one thing, and the other thing, the person, is just a juridical concept. It's actually a mere fiction. So when we say we are a person, we already identified with something that government system created for us. A person actually is created at that moment when a young child gets registered by a governmental institution, agency or whatever. So that registration creates a person. And the only thing that law points on is a person. So any guilt, any law, any enforcement is every time always put on a person, which we are not. We are a human being.
Yes.
And this is this basic trick. The person is created and owned by the state, or beyond that by the crown and the Vatican. They are the owner, they are the creator and thereby the owner of the person. So this is the trick that we have to teach people here and everywhere. But we are not a person. We are a human being. So, yeah, our mission is to show that difference. So every law here, no matter which country, no matter which law, is based upon the same principle. There is only sea and maritime law or admiralty law. 1 second, please. Okay, ich hab's gleich. I have to just talk a little bit more calm, because here in Germany it's midnight and my mom just complained a bit. Right. So, where did I start? Yeah, that maritime law. So everything we do is we agree bowing down in front of any law, no matter which law. So if a government say do this and that, they talk to a person, but a person does not even live or think. A person is a mere fiction. But since we are trained from a very young age to identify, to personify ourselves as a person, we agree without knowing that we are bowing down to crown law, politics law, or Vatican law. So this is the trick. And this is what we have to teach people. And how we get out of this is not fighting the system, but just not playing their game anymore. This is our approach now.
So, what in understanding the whole thing about the human being and the person, that also goes together if you sign your name capital letters as well, I understand. Isn't that right?
Exactly. In that moment you identify as a mere slave, or a mere thing, or a mere anything without rights. In that moment you are the person, if you sign.
And as so, they own you.
Right, they own the person and you identify with it. So in their way of thinking, they own you. Right.
And what can people do to help with this? I mean, because this is worldwide, as you said.
Yes.
And I know this common law. In fact, there was a case against the royal family. Can you tell us, was that your organization that did that case?
It was the ITCCS.
It was the ITCCS. Okay, I thought so. So tell us what they did exactly on that.
Okay. They brought their people together, really accredited lawyers, and also that survivor groups from that genocide. And then they came together for about half a year, and they really did all the documentation, what actually happened, what kind of crimes happened. And they brought everything together, and then they did trials. They did everything correctly as common law requires. Only evidence-based. No rumors, nothing like that, only evidence. And they found out, yes, the Vatican is an international criminal organization.
Yes.
The same as the Crown is in the City of London and all of that stuff. And they also brought the name on the table, all the names, like Elizabeth Windsor or Joseph Ratzinger and many more. And they found all of them guilty for crimes against humanity, child trafficking, abusing, all of that. Yeah, and they sent forth death court files to the people who got convicted. So they have to be informed, of course. That's also important, you have to inform them. And they have also had a chance to come in front of the court and speak. So there's always a chance for hearing. But nobody of them, of course you can think, nobody of them ever replied.
Of course. So they're served papers, just like like you're served papers to be sued or anything. I mean, they're basically served papers and they just ignore them.
Yes, they ignore them. And that ignorance is interpreted in common law as a conclutant acting. So it's a silently saying yes, you agree. Because since you don't disagree, you agree. Because if you want to disagree, you only have to do one thing, you have to raise your voice. Or you have to say something. You have that chance, But it never happened.
So they just ignored it. So they admitted that they were guilty.
They admitted, yes, they admitted it in that sense.
So how does common law get stronger? How can we make common law, the law of the land instead of more of a, well, I don't exactly know what kind of a, it's the first one, it's the original one. It should be the one that's in place, but it has been pushed back by those in power. So
Yes.
how do we get it back into the place where it should be, back into power itself?
Yes. In Germany, there are very, very strong networks now, like very strong forums, very strong foundations, where information sharing happens very, very fast at that time now. So we use platforms, we use networks to spread it, and now we also establish workshops to teach people what is the difference and to throw people into real life daily situations. For example, what do you do if that kind of letter comes from that kind of authority? Or what do you do when the police stops you? What do you do in front of a court? What is really going on in that court? What is it really? It's very different. Maritime law is there, and it's very different than it seems. So we teach people these things, and we spread it, we educate, and this is the main thing you can do. And in the USA, for example, it's actually even more easier, because common law, that tradition, it never got lost there. Common law and the sheriff, the traditional figure, the sheriff, and the traditional common law court, it never got lost in the USA. So there it is even easier to re-establish it.
Really?
Yes. But still the education has to be done. The consciousness has to be spread. That is the most important thing.
Yes, it is. So if people should go to ITCCS and or is there another site that they can go to that teaches them or a little bit more information about the common law?
Yes, they have to do that, yeah. And yeah, they should just research a little, and now it's even more easier than some years ago to establish things, to get things going. And the most important thing is, you don't need anybody else anymore. Of course, you can seek for help, somebody who is experienced now. But the most important thing, every single human.
Hello? We lost you? Okay, it looks like we must have lost our net. Looks like we must have lost our net. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, we lost you. We lost you. We lost you. Evidently, somebody didn't care much for what you were saying, but I think it was very important. We have like 10 minutes left of the show. So go ahead on. I think we've lost Andrea for right now. So please continue about how people can contact you, how they can help with this whole the ITCCS .org. You can go to that. Also, yes.
Yes. Can you hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, right. So yeah, there is, of course, it's good to contact ITCCS.org. That organization now mainly focuses on Canada, where everything started. But in the meantime, up to this day, worldwide there are so many countries where there is already a common law movement. So contacting ITCCS.org, whoever answers you gives you a link to your special country where you are situated, and from there connection can be made again. For example, Germany.
Oh, okay. That's great. That's great. And is Andrea there?
She just wrote in the chat that she's there.
Okay, Andrea, please tell us once again how they can contact you as well.
The best is over my website, traumabasedmindcontrol.com, or over Facebook, Andrea Sadegh, Sierra, Alpha, Delta, Echo, Golf, Hotel.
Okay, and Art, do you have any other contact information that you can give them that can contact you?
In this matter, the easiest thing is if you contact ITCCS and ask for a German branch, then they will automatically forward whoever asks to me.
Okay, all right, that's great, that's great. So what I'd like to just say with both of you, I'd like to ask you, is there something you can say to people, maybe a closing thought of something you'd like to share?
Yes. The worldwide political and economical structures, they will crumble for sure in the next years. And the sooner a person, now myself I say a person, the sooner a human being can understand it is a human being and put him or herself in that way of mentality and thinking, the easier it will be in, let's say, what we are going to face, to just adjust to a new way of living. The easier it will be for everybody. If you now can put yourself under common law, free yourself, be spiritual, live from the heart, be a sovereign human being, the easier the transition time will be.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Absolutely. It's part of the consciousness raising.
Yes.
It is.
Absolutely.
A very big part of it.
You can compare it. The human being and the person is a synonym to the real self and the programmed ego. So as the ego is dying, the person is dying. It's just a judicial term.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. And
yes.
That's the part of the person that believes that we live in this matrix and this is the whole thing, and that we're not sovereign beings.
Exactly. The architects of that systems are very smart. They know psychology, so they know how to feed the ego. In the same way, in the same fashion, in the same image, they created a judicial system. They created a person, which we identify with. The same way as we identified with ego, we identified with person. Very, very smart. But now we have had enough of it. We made the experience what it is. So now we can start to be human beings again.
Yes. And it's probably a whole other story, but in any of your eyewitness accounts, did they ever see any aliens in these ritual ceremonies?
That deep, the ITCCS protocols and documents, they don't go that deep into it.
Okay.
But if you ask, my opinion is, of course, there is a link at that level. Of course, there's a link.
Yes. I've seen the link myself. I've seen both. Mostly the humans in the red robes, but also there was an alien presence as well.
Yeah.
And this particular alien presence was reptilian.
Yes.
Not to say that all reptilians are bad, but this particular situation it was. So, well, I sure thank you so much for coming on the show. You really educated me in some very interesting things. Also, people just get so into the matrix that all they think about is their own little world and that nothing else is going on. But then when you think about how many children are missing, how much this atrocities are going on all over the world, it's really time for people to wake up. Really time.
Really time.
Yes.
Yep.
And Andrea, is there some closing statements that you would like to make.
Yeah, what I try to communicate is that there's just healing possible with truth. So in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to hide something. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense to make deals with the perpetrators. It's just possible for your child or your children to heal with the truth. So that's what I want to add, actually.
Yes. And just once again, folks, tell them where you might be speaking or someplace that they can see you. I know that you're going to be speaking at an event, Andrea. I guess they'll need to find that out on the website. Looks like we're going.
Yes.
Well, there. Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you, Arndt. Thank you so much. We'll keep in contact and we'll talk soon. This is Starseed Awakening Radio Show. My guest next week will be Solaris Blue Raven.